All right, everybody. Happy Friday. It's your Uncle Ed again. And today I have another special guest, another Ed, by the way, because I heard a little birdie say that two Eds are better than one. This is what we're doing. Today's the Ed Show on this Friday. So I want to introduce you all to Mr. Ed Crane. For those of you who don't know who he is, this man is an executive director at BNI. If you don't know what BNI is, you should, especially if you're in business. And it's a huge pleasure because I've known Ed for a long, long time, and I've been wanting to interview him just on things about leadership and also about the power of joining a group. So help me welcome Mr. Ed Crane. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Ed. Two Eds, yes.
You could hear an echo, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I've had the pleasure of knowing you for many years, as I said, Ed, and you've always been one of those guys that when I see the word anywhere, leadership, boom, your face pops up. You have me trained, my friend. My reticular activator is very active, especially when it comes to leadership. And I know you've been not only a huge force in the Bay Area leadership arena, but you've also been so consistent about it over the years. And it's really amazed me how many people know you, and two just always say that, like, you've just always been a consistent leader. So tell us your origin story, especially with Business Networking International, aka BNI.
Um, you want me to start with the origin story for BNI
Yeah,
or
when
my
you
life?
started it, and then
Okay.
why? How'd you even fall
Yeah.
into BNI?
So I was doing a coaching program um, where the coach sent out this for my mortgage business. So just for those of you who don't know me, like Ed, I've been in the mortgage business for years, and I'm at the tail end of that. Ed's a fabulous mortgage broker, and
Thanks.
but at any rate, you know what it's like. You're trying to grow your
Yeah,
business,
of course.
and I was doing coaching. Coaching's a great thing. I recommend coaching to anybody who has the time and the resources. And if you don't, make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, so this was back in the day when cassette tapes were sent out. Do you remember
What?
anybody?
You remember how we used to put them in our cases, right, by alphabetical order?
Yeah. Yeah, so for the kids in the audience, Google it. Go to the tech museum,
Yeah,
local
right.
tech museum.
I love it.
Anyway, there's we had monthly interviews essentially of people that had really great ideas, and the coach Joe Stump by referral only had interviewed Ivan Meisner, and this is back in 1996.
Hmm.
And Ivan he was interviewing him. Ivan was talking about his first book, his only book at the time, World's Best Known Marketing Secret. And it sounded intriguing. He was talking about ways to network that I thought really resonated with me and were different from what most people do for networking. And it's a much more refined approach. We'll get into that later, but as opposed to kind of a broad approach. And both are really important. You want to have a wide network, but you also want to have some very deep relationships. So that was what intrigued me. And he kept plugging his book, so I looked for the book. It wasn't in the bookstore back in the day. We had Barnes and Noble, uh, etc. Local, and so I called down to headquarters and or asked them to send me a book. Be happy to pay for it. So they sent me the book. I read it, and I thought, wow, this is me. This is exactly one of the missing pieces in what I'm doing to grow my business. So after I read it, and this all was a very condensed time frame, right? From the time I listened to the tape till the time I read the book, and was like a week or two. And so anyway, I said I want to join a local BNI, and there was none. So I said, we'll let you know when there is one. And I hung up the phone. I thought about it, and I called back. It was the next day, but I called back and I said, send me an application so I can see what I need to do. They sent me the application. I filled it out. I sent the check back. Headquarters was in Los Angeles at the time, and and lo and behold, they had somebody that they decided to send up and train me on how to open up a BNI chapter. So this is like happened, bam, 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 and from that point, it took us about 2 months to launch a chapter. Uh, and one thing after another happened. It was so powerful for my business. I ended up being offered if I to be a franchise owner, I could buy the franchise that I currently have, San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Cruz counties, and I said, "Heck yes!" so, so that's my origin story. Listened to a cassette tape interview, decided to take action, and I had a lot of fortuitous things happen along the way. So,
Isn't it amazing, Ed? And thank you for sharing that. Isn't it amazing how one decision can domino effect into so many other results? I see this over and over again as a common denominator and a common spice, if you will, to great recipes is taking action. You know, we've heard this over and over again, right? The three-quarters of the battle is showing up. And here you are taking action when you hung up the phone originally. They didn't offer you to start one. You were just
no,
like, we'll let you know, right? But you hang up and you're thinking, wait a second, why don't I just start it myself? You call back the next day. And because of that, you're offered a franchise. Because of that, we're talking today. Here we are decades later. And to me, it always just blows my mind that here's the takeaway here, folks, is that it's not that complicated. It really isn't. It's about taking action and surrounding yourself with the right people. And in this case, let's talk about really quickly. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, Ivan Meisner is the founder of BNI. And tell us a little bit of stats on BNI as of today. How many chapters? How many members? What are we talking about? It's huge.
yeah, I'll give you round numbers. Over 11,500 chapters in 76 countries around the world. Just by way of perspective, when I joined, there were a little over 400 chapters in a handful of countries. So it's it's exploded. Uh, so the 350,000 members worldwide, doing let's see, is around 17 million in annual referrals to each other. And by the way, these referral numbers, and I'm going to give you some thank you for closed business, which is what the referrals become, are all member reported. And I will say, since it's self-reporting, we don't know how what may be missing. We think it may be underreported, but because people
I
forget
guarantee
things.
you, Ed, it's
Yeah,
underreported. Some people just don't want to report it because, you know, it's just how they are and they want to be super humble, secret people, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I
People,
guarantee you that's underreported for sure.
yeah, for sure. So 17 million referrals and the last 12 months, $26 billion of thank you for closed business, referred closed business. So that
Yeah.
it's a powerful organization, and like anything, uh, you have to understand it. You have to work it. Nothing
Yeah.
comes free in life, right?
Yeah.
So
No, that's true. So at the end of the day, when we peel this onion, Ed, what do you think is the power of joining a group? I mean, why not just be a soloist and go out there and just cold call yourself to death? Why'd you even bother joining a group? Seriously.
yeah, well, just by the way, I'll tell you this is a quick side story.
I like side stories.
Yeah, my wife and I moved here from the East Coast in 79, 1979, 1980. And I just had wanted to move west and um, and go into the commercial real estate business, some family background in real estate, but and I basically knew nobody. And prime rate hit 21.5% when I moved here.
For those of you who are complaining about today's interest rate environment, go back and rewind this.
Yeah, boy, when people complain about prime rate at what 7.5, and the fixed rate mortgages were 17.5%, 30-year fixed rate,
Yeah,
right? So
Paul Volcker was the chairman of the Fed back then, right?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
the tallest, by the way. He was, I think, close to 7 feet.
pretty. I think yeah, 6'9", 6'10". At any rate, so where was I? So uh, so I had to hustle to meet people, and I did a lot of cold calling. And by the way, I'm not saying don't do cold calling, um, but it sure is a heck of a lot nicer to have some people who you get to know really well, which is what happens in a BNI group, and they are out looking for you. They become your sales team essentially over time. It doesn't happen like at the drop of a hat, but uh, it happens. And imagine, uh, you know, 25, 30, 35. So we have some chapters up to 150 members. Imagine a sales team of that size that you don't have to pay. Your only cost of having that sales team is our dues, which are de minimis, and your time, and your time's the most precious commodity.
Yeah, it's
And
something you can buy.
yeah, and I just found it to be an extremely efficient use of time.
I
So
agree, Ed. I mean, look, where else are you going to have a captive audience that meets on a regular basis who become your unpaid sales force, as you said? And it could be anywhere from 25 to 150 people in that group that you also have the opportunity to sow seeds into their economies, right? And helping
yeah,
them. Because here's what I know: in order to be interesting, you have to be interested first. When
yeah,
you sow seeds into other people, don't be surprised all automatically now all of a sudden they're interested in you. It's the way the world works. It's the way the brain works. It's just the way we're wired as human
yeah,
beings. So don't take things personally when that person that you met that you're constantly calling doesn't reciprocate, but then all of a sudden you notice you join a group and there they are. You're like, oh, wow, I didn't know you remember here. And now all of a sudden they're referring you people because
yeah,
you're constantly in that same ecosphere. So sometimes changing the venue as opposed to just calling somebody, but being a member of a group that they're already a group of that you're meeting constantly, it changes the dynamic. And I think that's another benefit of a group that because it becomes like such a microcosm and its own ecosphere, it's more conducive to consistency of referrals. It's more consistent with building meaningful long-term relationships.
yeah. I agree on all that, and well said. Well, you reminded me one of the things that was a very pleasant surprise for me when I started the chapter that I started was I both uh, ended up recruiting um, people to join the chapter who I didn't really know at all, or I got referred to. But I also I started, and this is a really great tip for people who are thinking about networking and BNI. Um, I invited people I was doing business with, and to your point, it was a surprise for me how much more business we did together. We had no idea how much business we could refer each other because we weren't top of mind, we weren't meeting consistently, and we weren't talking specifically about how what do you need. Like if I and I will say I want to put in here BNI philosophy is givers gain, right? So how can I give to you and to other members? So in particular, when you start giving to people who you think you've been referring to, and they're going, "Wow, this is amazing." It just really it launches that relationship to a whole new level. So
I agree. There's something about that consistent meeting all the time that number one, what it does is that it goes to your subconscious, which is where the majority of activity in your brain's happening. And then secondly, it changes the context of it, changes the dynamic. And the things that I've noticed are number one, it reinforces a lot of things, right?
yeah,
So we make a lot of assumptions as human beings. So we might think maybe somebody's too successful to want my referrals, and then you realize that no, that they're still taking business. Number two is we make the assumption that we know how to refer, and part of what we do is the learning in these groups because it's all these different industries converging into one group where everybody has a different way and perspective on how to market or anything for that matter. And we can all learn. Like one industry might use AI one way, but another one may use it in a totally different way. And you may say to yourself, wow, I didn't think about using it that way. Huh.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I want to use that in my own industry. Right. And then there's this also accelerated learning curve on different industries and how they operate. And then you start to see opportunity, right, on how you can collaborate. So, for example, we're in the mortgage business, but maybe we have a person who's in the insurance business in our group. We say, well, hey, wait a second. Tell me a little bit about your industry, right? Because right now, as we all know, insurance is very challenging. But that person may say, even though it's challenging, here's the things that I'm doing now to go outside the box that is helping a lot of clients. And you may say to yourself, wow, you know what? Why don't we do an event? Or why don't we do some joint marketing, such as social media, or do something like this, which is to interview one another to really educate people on the possibilities and the opportunities instead of all the negativity that people are consuming, which is, in my opinion, at really pigeonholing our thought process because everything is negative nowadays, right? And that's the other thing, everyone, of joining a group is that when you have like-minded people who see opportunity and see the world through a positive lens, it's a game changer. Every time, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, through the years, I've helped a lot of groups get started, a lot of chapters get started in BNI. And one of my favorite things to tell them is we are going to have 90 minutes every week, because that's the length of the meetings, 90 minutes of pure positivity. Nothing negative is going to come into this meeting. Don't let it. If somebody wants to start down that path, go back to the glass half full, right? Because we know when before you come into the meeting and after the meeting, it's a deluge of have to, got to, negative news. You're worried about picking up your kids, your groceries. How am I going to pay the mortgage this month? Whatever it is, we're humans are wired to worry, and the news knows, the media knows how to really tweak that in your mind, right? So
You're right. And I'm going to take it a step further and say it's mental manipulation. It
yeah,
really is because, look, negative news sells and they know it. When was the last time you decided, you know what, I'm just going to doom scroll on all cats that have been saved from trees? Like nobody does that, right? No, nobody cares, right? But
yeah,
yet we doom scroll on all the negative stuff, whether it's political, whether it's this, that, and the other, it doesn't matter. It's what the brain is gets addicted to, and they know it. Just like fast food, we've known this is not good for you. They
yeah,
make it highly addictive. Do you remember, Ed, when people could smoke in airplanes?
yeah,
I mean, it's nuts to think about it today in 2025 that people were smoking in airplanes, and then they had a section cordoned off by what, like toilet paper or some kind of little sheet like that was going to prevent people from getting the secondhand smoke and dying of cancer. I mean, right?
yeah,
They knew,
yeah,
right? Until we have a movement that is so large that forces change, the movement starts with one person. And guess who that person is? You, the one who's watching this. And you can change everything literally right now if you
yeah,
so choose to be present and be, right, that force that decides, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm going to change things. And you know what? Politics is not going to save you, regardless of what side you're on. None of that. You know who's going to save you? You're the CEO of your life. I've said this many, many times. It's you who can change. And joining a group of like-minded people, my opinion, and in my experience of doing it for 30 years, game changer stuff. Game changer stuff. So, Ed, what are some of the takeaways here as we wrap up on joining a group? Because I want to show you guys some of the things that are near and dear to my heart, which are core values. And by the way, when you're vetting a group, you need to like vet this stuff. What is their ethos? What do they stand for? In the case of BNI, look, every one of these, I I could definitely relate to because I've already assimilated this in my life. Giver's gain. You know how you give your how you solve a lot of problems by giving. You know how you help yourself get out of tough problems by helping other people get out of tough problems, right? Lifelong learning. Look, if you're not learning, you're not earning. That's a case. It's look, everything's changing. Look at AI. It comes out of nowhere, changes the planet. And by the way, we're at the infancy. Imagine what this is going to look like in 10 years. If you're not embracing it, it's going to wash you out. The saying is it's not AI that's going to put you out of business. It's your competition using AI, the people who are embracing it. Building relationships. Relationships is what matters. Are you building relationships by being a giver's gain person? Traditions and innovation. Look, innovation is not going to stop. It's going to continue to. You need to embrace it. Positive attitude. That's another thing, too. You ever notice, right, that negative people are professional recruiters? They are always out there trying to recruit other people going, doesn't the world suck? Right? They're always recruiting people. They're looking for other people who are just as miserable as them. Don't do that. Accountability. Hold yourself accountable first before anybody else does. I think that's super important. And then recognition. Are you recognizing and thanking the people in your life that have made a difference? The ones who, and it doesn't have to be financially, it could be somebody who's always a moral support for you. Are you recognizing those folks? Or are you just talking about yourself? You know, the old joke is, hey, enough about me. What do you think about me? Don't be a narcissist, right? Be out there about other people and you'll see that things change. But tell me some of the other takeaways that we
Well,
can grab
uh,
from here.
yeah, there are a bunch, but I think the top couple of them are take action, whatever it is if you see a good idea, whether it's BNI or something else, take action. Because the world is full of people who had great ideas and didn't take action, didn't implement them, and somebody else
Yeah,
took
that's
off
called
with the
potential, by
idea.
the way, guys. And we have tons of cemeteries with them.
Yeah. So you see a good idea, take action. And by the way, one of my favorite books on that is from Mel Robbins, The 5 Second Rules. She's a kick if you and you don't have to buy the book and read it. You can just listen to her podcast. So uh, and then after you take action, be all in on whatever it is that you decided was a good idea, and be all in for as long as it takes to figure out, did you make a mistake? Because sometimes you'll make a mistake, so it's okay. But if you don't, if you're not all in, you'll never find out whether that was really a good idea or not. And you'll be surprised the number of things that really hit in your life, uh, whether it's a high percentage or not, doesn't matter. The significance of what you hit on in your life when you take action is uh, far outweighs any of the stuff that you had to give up on because it didn't work out. Life is full of things that don't work out, right? Doesn't mean you stop trying and stop doing. So take action like right now, and then be all in.
I love it. And you know what? All of us have gone through this. Have you ever like been presented an opportunity and you decided, I'm not going to do it right now, I'm going to do it later, and then that window of opportunity closes forever? Don't allow that to happen again. You made the mistake once. Don't be in the business of making the same mistakes. Number two is be all in. I love how the Texans say it, right? Go big or go home.
Yeah.
Right? It's another way of saying that. Look, be all in. And I can tell you something from my experience talking to thousands of people over the year. I will tell you this is absolutely true. Is the people who are the most committed make the least amount of commitments, but the commitments they make, they are 100% all in. So those are your takeaways for today, folks. And I hope that you enjoyed this interview. Ed Crane, besides your email address, how do people get a hold of you, whether they want to start a chapter or they want to join a chapter or they want more information about BNI?
Yeah. great way to reach me is phone, cell phone. So texting, calling. It may take me a while to get back to you. So don't, could be a few hours, or if I'm away, it might be a day or two. Sometimes I like taking vacations,
Go figure.
unplugging, unplugging with time off, and don't be afraid to follow up. But the phone number is 415-216-9119.
There you go, folks. Give them a call
Um,
today, whether you want to start a chapter or you want to join a BNI, or you just have more questions that we didn't cover today. Please call him. Ed is a wealth of information. He's been a leader for decades, as you see, and he's a very humble and yet still very hungry professional who's out there making a difference in the business community. So, on that note, thank you so much, Mr. Ed Crane. Have a great weekend. As always, we're thankful for you. We're thankful for your leadership, and we're thankful for you blessing us all. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ed. It's
You
been a
bet.
pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.